Sup. Welcome to the Sports Yammer. I am a sports yammer. We try to be here every Monday between 8 and 9 right here on the used tubes, right here on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Sports Yammer1. Make sure you follow us there for the links and also all that fun stuff. With me, per usual, is the co-host of the Sports Yammer, driving around, totally being safe. We got Kyle. Kyle from Massachusetts. Kyle, how we doing? How's Massachusetts? How's the East Coast? Miss it?
It's good. It's a little hot today. It's going to be 100 degrees on Wednesday, so I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to talking about all things World Cup because it's been a little bit wild recently.
Yeah, it was. Literally, probably about what? I'd say like 30 minutes, 40 minutes before we launched the stream, Paraguay upset Germany. That's that's probably the biggest upset that I can think of since like the Moroccan ones last year. Just off top of my head, that's a huge upset. Like Paraguay taking out Germany, oh my God.
Yeah, it felt very similar. I mean, we'll probably go over this a little bit later, but it felt very similar to like what we were seeing with what we call it, Curacao and Ecuador, in a way, where it was just a very impressive defensive display by Paraguay, even though they weren't able to do a lot offensively. There was a potential goal that was waved off in the 100th minute from Germany because it looked like from VAR that there was a penalty on the goalie that basically took him out of being able to defend the goal. So that took the point off the board, and then it was just in penalties. Paraguay just looked like the hungrier team, and there was a costly mistake by one of the players after going to the sixth shot, where he basically sailed it over the net, and then Paraguay hit the sixth shot, and they're moving on to probably face France in the next round.
That's crazy. They're potentially going to face France. That's nuts. And look, I know that France, they got Mbappe, who's like the best player in the world right now. Don't ask Amin El Hassan, though. I don't know why I said that. I'm a fan of his. I know that they have Mbappe, and I know that it's pretty much, at least based on what I've heard from you, I know that it's kind of based it's pretty much potentially just going to be Argentina versus France, but now Paraguay getting in there making some noise. I don't know, if I'm France, I'm getting a little antsy in the pantsy. But anyway, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I got a text from your brother. What did he say? He probably said words. Hopefully they were kind. He said, "Be on soon." Good for him. Kyle, I want to start here. Last year around this time, it was the Independence of Days because it was the 4th of July. And Kyle, we spoke about it last year. I don't know if you remember. We won the 4th of July because we're America, and we always win the 4th of July, even when we're not winning, okay? This year, not gonna lie, it's up in the air, but we can talk about that on a different time. But Kyle, I don't know if you remember. We won the 4th of July because America, but we lost the weekend. Do you remember why we lost the weekend?
I do not remember. You're going to have to refresh me.
Because it was the return of Oasis, and it was Ozzy's farewell.
Yes.
And this is a very long-winded way of me saying, remember when we waxed poetic about Ozzy and all that fun stuff, and then a couple weeks later, I know what's been going on with his family. I don't want to talk about his family. I want to talk about the man. But remember us waxing poetic and getting nostalgic and stuff like that. Well, Kyle, I kind of want to do that again with you because over the weekend, I don't know if you saw, but Kyle, it was Mel Brooks' 100th birthday.
Yeah.
Kyle,
That's awesome.
Mel Brooks turned 100 years old, and Spaceballs 2 is reportedly coming out soon.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not realize until recently, because we talk about, every single day when I'm working at the assisted living home, we do a happy birthday to a certain celebrity, and we did talk about Mel Brooks. I honestly did not put two and two together that it was his 100th birthday. I would not have been surprised if you told me that he was in his late 80s, early 90s, but 100, that surprised.
He's 100 freaking years old, man, and he's still creating. He was also an executive producer, and I'm pretty sure he probably helped write History of the World Part 2. It was a mini series on Hulu. That one kind of came out during COVID, but it was still relatively successful and relatively good. Oh man, it's his 100th birthday. I love Mel Brooks so much. And he's just, I love Mel Brooks because his stuff really holds up. And he is an example of you can work in comedy and comedy can age well. Because I don't think there's a single one of his movies, at least of his big movies that I can think of off the top of my head, that ages poorly. They all, if anything, age incredibly well. Starting with the producers. Heck, before that, you could start with Get Smart. I was just watching clips of Get Smart before we got started. It is oh man, I would love to find ways to reboot that with the right actor because oh man, it was such a great Mel Brooksy show. The producers. The producers is literally the most successful thing to ever hit Broadway. Very sincerely. I love Hamilton. I love the Cultura, but dude, the producers broke New York. And then also just the movie. The movie is one of the most legendary comedic it's one of the most legendary comedic premises of all time. What if we put on a show that intentionally flopped? That's one of the most legendary comedic premises of all time. Then you got Blazing Saddles, you got Young Frankenstein, you got Robin Hood Men in Tights, then you got Spaceballs. Actually, no, flip that. It was in the reverse order. But then you also have History of the World Part 1. Oh man, and his stuff, it's so funny. It ages so well, and it's so good. And what I like about Mel Brooks is he finds ways to be dirty, but either in campy or funny ways. I don't know if you've ever heard, but a criticism of Mel Brooks when he was in the height of his fame is people would always say about Mel Brooks, oh, he's so vulgar, he's so crass, to which Mel would reply, that's bullshit. Oh man, I think I was thinking about this. I think my all-time favorite Mel Brooks movie, I don't know what it is for you, but I think my all-time favorite Mel Brooks movie is Blazing Saddles. I really could watch that movie over and over again. I know the ending with the fourth wall gets a little wonky, but overall, I mean, even still, it still wraps up incredibly well. Blazing Saddles is very sincerely, I think, one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies as well as comedies. The performances between the two leads are both incredible. And then Hedy Lamarr, played by the actor who I can't remember off the top of my head from the Carol Burnett show. It's just such an incredible, great film. It's just so good. The dialogue holds up so well. And then take away from the fact that that was originally supposed to be Richard Pryor. That was supposed to be Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. Oh man, I love that so much. I remember I saw Young Frankenstein on Broadway with the original cast. It was okay, but it was so cool. I got to see a Mel Brooks musical on the Broadway, even though it wasn't the right one. But dude, he's just so good. And then even the movies that he appeared in, I remember when I was a kid seeing the movie Robots in theaters, which that's an animated movie by DreamWorks with Ewan McGregor. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Mel
with Ewan
Brooks,
McGregor and Robin Williams, right?
Yeah, and Ewan and Mel Brooks plays Bigwell. He plays the hero. He
Oh,
plays Ewan McGregor's hero. See a need, feel a
yes.
need. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like I like oh man, like and he made it to 100 and like so for the longest time what people would always say about Blazing Saddles is oh you couldn't make it today, oh you couldn't make it today. And I always hate when people say that about like vulgar comedy that ages well because like I feel like they're just focusing too much on certain things like with like the fact that they say a certain word multiple times over and over again. They're very, very crass. And like I feel like they're just focusing on the words and they're not focusing on the comedy and the context, which I feel like a lot of people focus on when it comes to comedy, especially in this day and age, because COVID just ruined our comedy sensibilities. I feel like when it comes to crass and like, for lack of a better term, offensive comedy, people just focus on the words that get said, and they don't always and they don't always realize the context in which they're being said. Um, uh, uh, and then there are some people that do and then abuse it, and then that's how you become famous, like Tony Hinchcliffe. Digressing from that, though, um, uh, um, I would always hear that about Blazing Saddles, though, that you can't make it today, you can't make it today, and like that would get me angry because I don't agree with that. I think good comedy always holds up. But then today I was watching an interview with Mel Brooks on CBS Sunday Morning, and he even said himself, which this was shocking to me, but it was very interesting. He goes, but hearing him say it completely changed my mind, and it was very much because it was him. He goes, "Yeah, I think I did go a little too far. Like I think we got a little excessive with some use of the N-word as well as some of the other gags. Like I think if we make it, we would probably have to tone it down a little bit. But like hearing him say specifically that part though, that he felt like he overused that, I thought that was really interesting. And I think that also illustrated how phenomenal of a comedian and a performer Mel Brooks is. I love Mel Brooks. I'm almost done waxing poetic. I am done waxing poetic. Like Mel Brooks is awesome. And Kyla, I know that you and I do share an enjoyment of Mel Brooks movies, so I'll pass it over to you. He's freaking 100
Yeah.
years old. What's some of your favorite Mel Brooks stuff?
Well, okay, to tie into what you were saying real quick, right? I think, first off, it's really funny to me that the people who say that that movie couldn't be made anymore are probably the people who want that movie to be made the most because of the connotations that are in there, like looking at it simply, right, and being able to say the N word versus like the context of how that thing is being used and what it's being portrayed. Um, I think what Mel Brooks did so wonderfully is he was able to balance the stupid and the quick wit so well, right? Like one of the things one of the lines I can think of, right, is like Spaceballs, right? Like combing the area, right, and then it's the comb, and they're like actually using a fine tooth comb in the sand. And it was like, oh, we couldn't find anything. And then there was the guy who was using the hair pick, and it was like, we ain't found shit, right? It's like that's really dumb. It's super dumb, but there's also those moments that are like to me stand out as being like super quick witted because it's like you didn't expect it to happen, right? Of like when Gene Wilder is talking in Blazing Saddles about the kid who shot him in the ass, right? It's like taking his hand and being like, see this hand? Yeah, say he's a rock. Yeah, but I shoot with my other hand, and he brings up his hand. You're right. It's. I think he is able to balance the quick wit that we love from like a Monty Python to something completely stupid or completely esoteric in such a great way that feels universal because it's those jokes that we always tell just in life in general, right? There's some timeless jokes that just aren't ever going to go away. There's a reason why there's a thing called dad jokes, right? And I think that he balances the dad jokes with the more quick wit, with sometimes also the more social commentary, right? After I forget who plays the opposite of Gene Wilder in Blazing Saddles, but after he's called the N word, Gene Wilder's like, "What do you think they were going to do?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Here's a key to the city. Here's I'll let you date my my
My
cousin or something
daughter.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's those small social commentaries there too that he's able to put in there in a very ridiculous way. Or what is it? The You're gonna have to remind me, Matt. But the scene where where Gene Wilder is dressed like a Klans member,
Oh
and it's like,
boys.
"Oh, fellas, this, what's the line after that?
Where all the white women at?
Where are the white women at?" Right? It's he's able to me, yes, Blazing Saddles is my favorite. Um, I'm a sucker for History of the World Part One. I to me, I think Young Frankenstein might be the best written movie,
Yes.
even if it's not the funniest of the movies. I feel like to me sometimes uh, Young Frankenstein feels like a King of the Hill, if that makes sense, where it's like it's entertaining, but it's not necessarily laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
Um, but still, those three are incredible. Spaceballs, of course. Yeah, he just doesn't miss. And I still need to watch the second History of the World. I'm very excited for Spaceballs 2. Um, I'm very curious to see if Spaceball 2 will hold up the way that it does to the first one. But if it does, I think it goes back to this is the universal humor that a lot of other people try to replicate, right? But like what you were saying, right, is not just using the words, but putting the context in there that makes it funny. Because you can just say buzzwords all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily funny,
Yeah.
but the context there is the most important part.
Yeah. And he's so good. Like he's so damn funny. Like he even mentioned it with History of the World Part One. Like just such a quick and easy joke. He's coming down from the mountaintop talking to God, and he's got three
I
tablets.
bring
He goes,
you
"My
heaven."
people, I have these 15," and then he drops one of them, and it just completely shatters. Then he goes, "Oi, 10 commandments," like little dumb crap like that. Like he's so good. And then it even goes back to like the very beginning of stuff that made him famous, like the 2,000-year-old man. I haven't listened to all of it, but like some of it that like I have listened to, it's so damn funny, and like you can hear his humor in it from the very beginning. Like it starts with Carl Reiner talking to him, and he goes, "Hello, sir," and he goes, "Huh, what do you want?" Like that's just how it starts. It's just like that's just Mel Brooks being Mel Brooks. Ryan, I know that this is a sports show and we're going to get to the draft. We're going to get to the sports in a second, but we are talking about Mel Brooks. Ryan, oh, you're talking to someone. Oh no, he's talking to someone. He's got to be a manager so he can be a manager. So while he does a manager, I'm trying to think. I've been watching a lot
Well,
of. I was going to say I've
I
been
was going to
watching.
say,
Yeah, no, you go.
no, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've been watching a lot of the producers on Broadway content and just like reading about it, just because like that was his first foray into Broadway, and like it's funny you think about it, like in 2001, that's like after his entire film career, damn near, and like that's when he goes to Broadway. That's when he goes
Mhm.
to Broadway, and like it almost feels like from the very beginning he should have always been on the Broadway. Like he's so damn good, and like
Mhm.
like all of his songs are in the style of show tunes. You know what I mean? So like it's almost
Mhm.
like, yeah, of course. Why didn't they get there? And like the producers, like he hit with like everyone in that cast, but then specifically with like Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, like dear
Mhm.
God, man, like look, I know that like in terms of like film and TV they've been fine, but overall it's been like up and down and stuff like that. But like in terms of like the theater world, like those two guys are going to get like theaters named after them when they eventually
Mhm.
leave this earth. And like part of that is because of the producers, like what they did on the producers as well as like what they've done in the rest of their stage career since. But like what they've done, like what the producers was as like a stage production just overall was genuinely one of the most remarkable, unbelievable things. Like it topped Hello Dolly, which like at that point was like like a 30, 40-ish year old like record and stuff like that, and it beat the crap out of that. Hamilton didn't. Hamilton got close, but Hamilton unfortunately tripped at the finish line. I think Hamilton got to 11. So it's literally producers Hamilton and then Dolly. But like it's just like the produce and like it's funny because then they tried to make it a movie and like I just don't think it worked because it was they should have I think if anything leaned more into the stage musical, and then also B they cut a lot of the songs, and then also C, I think they did some of the stunt casting they did. I don't think worked. I thought Will Ferrell worked fine as Franz Liebken. They should have left all of his songs in there because I think Will Ferrell would have done a phenomenal job at that. But then I don't think Uma did a good job. I thought Uma was a bad casting choice. I think if they didn't want to keep Katie Huffman because she was a Broadway name and not a movie name, that's fine. But they probably and in 2003, 2004 when they shot this, they could have found someone a smidge better than Uma Thurman. Ryan, I promise we're going to talk about sports, but Ryan, we occasionally diverge from sports, and before we get into the sports conversation, over the weekend it was Mel Brooks's 100th birthday. Do you have any memories or favorite Mel Brooks lines or films?
Probably my favorite Mel Brooks film is The History of the World Part 1. I mean, that's the first movie I think of when I think of Mel Brooks. Obviously, Young Frankenstein is great. It's not, like Kyle said, it's not really the most funny of his films, but I think it's definitely the most strong in terms of its writing. So yeah, I think looking at the two shots I have here, Mel Brooks, like he's an iconic guy when it comes to comedy. And, him and Mighty Python are the reason why, a lot of his crew love it.
Yeah, we heard
Gotcha.
some of them.
Yeah, we had a lot of background noise going on.
Yeah, no,
Matt, the only other thing
on the restaurant.
Like right as you started giving your answer, that's when the vacuum turned on, and I felt terrible. I was like, I am freaking Kyler Murray last year on the Cardinals. Let me tell you. In terms of
Matt, the other thing I was going to say, right, is because like we talk about people who've made it to 100 in the film and TV industry, right? The other name that really comes to mind is Dick Van Dyke, right? And like for being at this assisted living home, right? We watch a lot of the classic stuff, and honestly, like watching Dick Van Dyke, it kind of shows you the genius that also did. The Dick Van Dyke Show. You see the genius that Mary Tyler Moore and Dick Van Dyke were in their time as well. So I don't know if is there something in the water during that time, but like the fact that both of these people are in their hundreds and they're still like with it and still have that charm and charisma of when they were younger, right? Like what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago? Dick Van Dyke was on The Masked Singer, right? And he was just being himself, right?
Yeah.
There's videos of him in his 90s just still singing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, right? It's not just that these people were geniuses, but they were able to continue this like love of life and comedy that has not even made them feel like they're their age that they're at.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like and like that's what I think. I think it's also specifically like what they choose when they show up. I think that's what makes it like, for lack of a better term, like okay to keep an eye on them and like keep watching them when like they do show up on screen. Because like there are certain people that are their age that like when they get on stage when they get on screen, I'm like, oh, we didn't have to do that. Like I remember when I was in college and Kirk Douglas showed up at the Oscars, and I was like, oh, we could have left him at the home. We didn't have to do that. He's looking rough. But yeah, no, Mel Brooks, Dick Van Dyke. It's a hoot. I love shit like that. So anyway, I just wanted to start with that. You're good. Jay is on his way. I just wanted to start with that. We watch Poetic every once in a while. Like I love freaking Mel Brooks. He's just awesome, and I feel like for as phenomenal and as much we've talked about him, I feel like he just doesn't get as much love as he should get. Anywho, gents, sports did happen. I know last week we were off because life's a hoot. But I know we were off last week, but last week all of the drafts happened. I'm surprised we didn't get drafted considering how many people got drafted last week. Last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, it was the NBA first and second round draft. And then on Friday, was it Friday through Sunday or just Friday and Saturday for the
Friday and
NHL?
Saturday.
And then just Friday and Saturday for the NHL draft. We're going to get to the NHL draft in just a second. The Rangers made a surprise amount of noise, at least in the early rounds, which that was so weird to see because it also confused me. But before we get to that, we got to get to the NBA. So the NBA draft, it was kind of chalk the first 5 picks. Everyone thought it was going to be Debanza, Peterson, maybe a switch, but it was primarily thought that it was going to be Debanza, Peterson, Cam, Caleb, so with some people making room for Caleb to jump Cam. And then Keaton always rounding that out at 5. And it was interesting because it did seem kind of chalky, but I want to focus on that top 5 and go over the winners and losers of that chalky top 5 because it finally happened. We knew it was going to happen. It was on our calendar. We all knew. We all saw on ESPN, hey, it's starting, let's watch. And we watched it happen. So now it happened. We got the Banza, Peterson, Boozer, Wilson, and Wagner. Kyle, I want to start with you because I still don't know if Ryan is Gucci yet. So, Kyle, with you, within the chalky top 5, hopefully your hands aren't too dried out. Who do you think of the top 5 is the biggest winner?
I mean, honestly, I think you look honest. Okay, I think this was a really good draft for a lot of teams. This is like the first one in a very long time where I was like, oh, not only do I understand the players that are here, but I understand where they're going for position. So, like, honestly, I think other than number 4, I think they all hit home runs. I am still not sold on Caleb Wilson as a prospect. He has a high ceiling, but also a pretty low floor. So for me, I still don't really understand why he was in like a area solely for himself. But like the Vansa to the Wizards, who already have a decent roster, I can see him being somebody who will get his own basket a lot. Same thing with Pearson in Utah. Utah's not that far off from being a contending team. So getting someone like Peterson, if he can stay healthy, and that's the big if, they just got someone who's electric. Boozer to Memphis, especially now with Ja gone. Boozer, a lot of like when we were talking before, and you guys were like, "Oh, what if Peterson is number 3? Would that be a starter?" I was like, "No." I never totally understood why Boozer wasn't in more talks as a number 1, because out of the 3, he has the biggest bag of an biggest offensive bag, and he actually showed it throughout his time at Duke. So I could definitely see Boozer being the best of the 3 in the short term, even if he's not necessarily in the long term. And then Wagler at 5. They do have Garland there, so it wasn't necessarily the biggest need, but those 2 together are going to make a very solid duo. So I don't necessarily think that any particular one was better or worse than the others. I think they all got something really, really good, because this is just how stacked this particular draft was when it came to college talent.
All right, Ryan, he's doing a good job finishing up being a manager, and he managed perfectly. Phenomenal. Ryan,
I'm good.
Of the chalky top 5, who do you think the biggest winner of the top 5 was? And also, if you have any final Mel Brooks observations, please feel free to drop them in there.
I would say Washington and Memphis are the 2 biggest winners for me. Washington getting the type of player in the answer that's going to fit that roster. I think it's the final piece for a real contender in the East. The advances that do everything wing, who can defend and can shoot the three and create his own shot with Trey and AD. I think you got the forming of this big three, provided they stay healthy. They could make some noise in the East, especially in the bottom half of the bracket. Could they see themselves as a 6 or a 7 seed? Absolutely. That'd be huge progress for a roster like this, especially extending Trey Young. They got him locked up for 4 more years, and I think it's a nice cornerstone to build around and a nice way for this franchise to kind of get more eyes and get more butts in the seats. Would help revitalize a really awesome market. When Washington was really good at those times, when you had arenas and Jameson, that building was packed night in, night out. So they can absolutely return to relevance with this relief. And with Memphis, I think getting Cameron Boozer in there as that. Trying to think the word, as that culture setter, especially when you moved up John, got some good pieces in return. I think when you can build around Cameron, who is a kid who's going to work his tail off, he's going to bring it every night. He's really good offensively. Yeah, he's a little weak defensively, but you can work around that. He's the kid who's going to set the tone for that new wave of Memphis players. I also think one of the is a huge win because they finally got rid of John. You reset that culture in the locker room. Obviously, it wasn't working with him, and there was so much off the court issues. With Cameron, being the son of Carlos, who was a squeaky clean and hardworking as they come, he's going to come in there ready to work. He's going to set the tone culture-wise and demand excellence from his teammates. I think Memphis now has the right building block in place to kind of start resetting this franchise in the right direction. And I'm kind of interested in what Chicago's doing. Kyle's not the biggest Caleb's event. I think Caleb potentially has the highest ceiling in the draft overall. It's a shame he got injured, but if he's on that UNC team, I think they're a Final Four team. I think Caleb, there's a lot of risk to him, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops, but I think him being able to play with John City will help his development and allow him not to have to be the focal point of the offense. He can kind of develop at his own pace. And if he reaches the ceiling, there's a real shot that he's the best player in this draft class.
How crazy would that be if Cam Boozer is the best player in this draft? Because at the same time, I have heard people poo-pooing him and things of that nature. Joining us though in the chat is Jay Johnson. Jay, it's really good to see you, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How's everybody here? I just started a job at Best Buy and I like it, but I thank you. I just gotta get out of there as soon as possible. But I'm good, y'all. I'm good.
That's good. Hey, how's the documentary coming along?
It's done. My plan is I have to pay an individual because he did a great spoken word for us. So I get money from Temple that they owed me because I got for the documentary. So I have to send him money. Once I pay him, I'm leaning on putting it on YouTube. So once I do all that stuff, it'll probably be on YouTube within the next week. That's my plan. I got confirmation from the people that I did it with just to make sure that they kind of liked it. They love it. So as long as they love it, I love it, it'll go online. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah, man. You love to hear it. Jay, we just started the show, and by just started, I mean we've been yammering for a little bit. We started with 25 minutes of, you guessed it, talk about Mel Brooks. And then afterwards, we followed it up with talk about the NBA draft. Do you have any, Jay? I know, you and I would talk to Jordan about how he doesn't know movies, but people your age, I'm realizing, don't know Monty Python. Jay, have you ever seen a Mel Brooks movie?
The only Mel Brooks movie I've seen partially of is Spaceballs.
That's what's up.
But I have not seen anything else.
You would, I think you'd like it. You'd like it. Yeah, no, you guys don't like Jordan and you and Katie and Allie. I'll mention, and even my coworker Trevin, I'll mention things like Monty Python and Mel Brooks, and be like, I don't get it. I'm like, no, Oh no!
No hate to the Hirsch, but to be fair, he's like the worst person to ask movies to because I don't know if
Oh,
that man
he's
has seen Star Wars. Like he's out there.
unless Bryce Harper starred in like an episode of Stranger Things, he doesn't know who
Yeah.
was in it.
I don't know if he's seen the original Space Jam. I should ask him.
That'd be very funny. That'd be very funny. Although Allie has been making him watch movies, so he might have since then.
I gave him the list. He didn't look at mine, so I guess we see who he likes more.
I mean, yeah. So after though we talked about Mel Brooks, though Jay, we just started our NBA draft talking points and all that jazz. I have no clue why my brain broke there, but anyway. So the top five was pretty chalky. We knew it was going to be some sort of combination of Devanza, Peterson, Boozer, Wilson, and Keaton Wagler, and then it ends up being in that exact order. Do you see who do you see as like the biggest winner of that chalky top five? Because like we've known for a while that this was coming. It's happened. They've been drafted. Those contracts are getting signed. Now they're going there. Who do you think of the top five, now that it's official, who do you think of the top five is the biggest winner? And if there's any, who do you think is the biggest loser?
Okay, I think this might come out a little shocking. I'll start off with the positives, right? I think that Cam Boozer is probably like the happiest man in the world right now because of all the John Morant money is now going to his bank account. So him and his agent are high-fiving right now because they just cleared house for him, essentially. So that's great. I like Utah's team with DP. I'm not mad at that at all. So like I think that works out for them. I am on the fence with the Wagler pick. I don't think there's anything wrong with his skill set, right? Just the Clippers are in this limbo where like you have to imagine they're selling. And that kind of just becomes his team. And it's no shade to his game at whatever. I think Darius Acuff, if he's in that same position, gets to play free basketball and it works out better for him. I think Wagler is at the point now where he would have been a beneficiary of a Kawhi Leonard next to him. Assuming Kawhi Leonard's not there anymore, then I think the expectations for him are just piled on. Though Darius Acuff can be that volume shooter and that volume scorer, not that Wagler can't. It's just now it's like, Wagler, you're not playing very hot. It's going to be like, was this the right pick at 5? I think with Acuff, even though I'm kind of on the fence with, not even on the fence with this game, I just think, what is a 6'2" guard going to look like in the NBA? Some of them are Jalen Brunson, some of them are not. So
you're going to look like a goddamn champion.
Yeah, you either look like, oh man, we got him in the second round, or you're like, oh my gosh, we drafted him top 5. Like it's one or the other. And so I'm not mad at the Wagler pick. I just think that Acuff would have been like prime position, like, okay, this is my team. Like, I get to just throw up shots and no one's mad at me because that's my job. Other than that, just cautiously watching what happens with Washington. AJ might get some new teammates to play with, which would be fun. So that could be interesting, especially if we're talking to Golden State. If I'm Washington, I want Yaxel. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I'm like, listen, I want your top pick. What else do you have? Guy Santos? Like, I want Yaxel, or at least picks in exchange. But other than that, I think everyone else should be kind of comfortable in their positions. I feel like the top 5 went how we all kind of anticipated, and a lot of these guys are going to get a chance to actually be the guy. So that's fun. Caleb Wilson, same thing. Like, he was talking cash money the entire season, backed it up until he got hurt. But I mean, like, we watched him go and take on all the tough guys in his conference. Watched him take on the other guys out of his conference and play well. So I think that obviously Chicago's in a little bit of a transition, but he's going to be one of their cornerstones to kind of build that team around.
Now, that's the top 5. The other big thing that I noticed in this draft, like the biggest winner to me in this draft, at least in my opinion, was the Oklahoma City outside of like, oh, they got this cornerstone piece. They got that cornerstone piece. Outside of like the top 5 BS, all that fun stuff. I genuinely think the biggest winner of the NBA draft was the Oklahoma City Thunder, because like leading up to that draft, outside of like the Knicks winning and like the Spurs and stuff like that in the Giannis trade, the other thing you heard about was like, oh, how are the Thunder going to retool? How are the Thunder going to do this? How are they going to come back with Embiid? How are they going to replace Dort, Wiggins, and people like that and stuff like that? Their first pick, they get a Daymara, not long after the other Michigan gent got drafted by the Mavericks. Forgive me, Kyle. I know you know the name, but I don't have it off the top of my head. And then a few picks after that.
Morris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, Murray. Yes,
but a Sixer.
Yeah, but a few picks after that though. At 16, it wasn't their pick initially. It got traded though to them. They got freaking from Iowa Bennett Sturts, which Bennett Sturts, I know he's kind of an older player, but he is really good on both sides of the ball. Like, first of all, just quickly with Mara 7'3". He's kind of essentially getting picked for when eventually they want to essentially either punt on Chet or potentially move on from Hartenstein. Mara's going to be really good for them. Apparently, like, I think they essentially got him to try and be a Wemby stopper. We'll see if he can be a Wemby stopper. Hopefully he can. Chet's days are potentially numbered. But then also with Bennett Sturts, dude, Bennett Sturts is going to, like, I'm not saying Bennett Sturts is going to be an all-star or, like, one of their top guys, but Bennett Sturts is going to be an effective player off the bench. If not next season, the season after. Bennett Sturts is so damn good, man. Like, he was Iowa's offense and defense for a little bit. He is so good. Like, he is good on both sides of the ball. He has literally traversed his way from being a Division II guard to being a borderline lottery pick in the NBA draft. Like, I think with their first 2 picks alone, the Thunder low-key reloaded their roster. And I'm not saying either of those guys are going to be all-stars, but they also don't need those guys to be all-stars. I think they found role players for the next 4 to 5 years that are going to be like their 6th and 7th dudes. Worst case scenario, their 8th dudes. Like, I think literally both of those dudes are going to be huge for the Thunder. Like, I think that, I don't know who had Mara on their boards and let them drop, but they messed up, man. They messed up. I think Mara and Sturts are 2 of the sneaky biggest picks of this entire first round, at least of the first round. Jay, since you got here last, I'm going to toss it to you first. Jay, what do you think about that? Because I think we messed up. I think we should have blockaded the Thunder, and we didn't do that.
Mara should have went where Morez Johnson went. No hate to Morez Johnson. I wanted you in Philly. That's all I'm saying. But on top of that, yeah, the fact that they let Mara just go to OKC is kind of, and I texted you during the draft, man. And I said, there's Chet's replacement.
Yep.
Like, obviously they're going to roll with Chet because they paid him a lot of money this past offseason and they have a championship. But now what you can do, and them re-signing Hartenstein was insane. I was like, oh, one of them's gone. They keep all 3 of their bigs now. They have a nice 3 big rotation. And like Mara, if you've watched him in Michigan, he was more than just a 7'4" man you put in the lane. He was knocking down mid-range shots. He was getting into the post. He was hitting those little post hooks over people. He can play offense and he can defend. And you mean to tell me you're splitting minutes with Isaiah Hartenstein, who we know as a defensive big, but also has that push shot from heaven that just falls every time. And then you put it with Chet, who clearly was just outmatched in that Western Conference Finals, but we know what he's capable of, right? So I love their big rotation now, just because the question was going to be, what do you lose? Obviously, why am I forgetting his name? Kenrich Williams. Wow. Just lost him. AJ Mitchell, they traded, obviously. Like, they lost some pieces. But they reloaded. And then the Bennett Sturts, I was shocked that they got him then. Yeah. But it's going to work for what they needed, right? They didn't need anyone else to come off the bench. They lost Isaiah Joe. They didn't need someone who's going to be ball dominant. They have a guy that's like, okay, we can put you in any position. Next to Jared McCain, we have 2 flamethrowers coming off the bench. Like, it just makes sense. And this is a team that, like, they necessarily didn't go deep. You also think about J-Dub, where has he been at? You now can get those points elsewhere because you have 3-4 guys off your bench that are consistent scorers. OKC I think they might have perfected drafting. And I don't like that because they don't need that. They as many picks as they have, they still have Caruso on the team. They just re-signed Lou Dort. They don't need anything else. They can literally go on autopilot. They can go on auto draft like you do on your fantasy drafts, and they'll be fine. It's ridiculous, but good draft by them. They have the best front office in the league, arguably. I love it for them.
Yeah, their roster is like low key, like still 10, 11 people deep after this draft, which like that's crazy. And like you didn't touch on it. Something that like really can't be slept on with Bennett Sturts. The dude plays defense, and like you mentioned though, with OKC for what they need him to do. Oh my God, he's gonna be a dog. He's gonna be a freaking dog. Like Bennett Sturts. Like we know Mara is gonna be good. But what Bennett Sturts, sneaky screw up letting him go to them. Ryan, we screwed up. We didn't blockade the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, this front office does. They draft well and they develop well. But for all that said, they did get bounced in the Western Conference Finals last year. So, I mean, you can draft well, and on paper, it's all well good, but it's got to transfer down to the court. So, these rookies talking about how anybody outside the top 10 usually is not. You don't get super excited about them because they're not like these game-changing difference makers. I think Mara's got a lot of potential to add to this roster, but I wouldn't count him being a big piece that's going to determine if they go to the finals this year. As long as Chet is still blocking his way, Chet's going to be still in that. A lot of teams are going to attack in the playoffs, and that he's going to shrink from the moment. If you get inside his head, he's not going to show up in the biggest game of the year like he did this year. So, give him the props for drafting well and identifying talent, but let's see how it plays out in the playoffs next year before we, anoint the Thunder as this dynasty, as we have been doing for the last 2 years.
I'm not like anointing them as the dynasty. I'm just more like Jesse Pinkman when Hank stops him from pouring gas all over Walt's house, and he goes, "He can't keep doing this." It's just more like, how the hell do they keep reloading, man? Because like again, like they're not looking for like world beaters and stars. They already got that. They just need the complementary pieces, and like it's not just that they got them. They got literally, at least in my opinion, precisely who they needed. Like, oh, as those dudes are going out the door, here's who we got coming in, which like absolutely stupid.
Well, let's see if it translates onto the court. It's a draft pick is just a draft pick until they actually hit on the court. Let's see how he is able to adjust to the NBA level. Because for all we know, this draft pick could be fun on paper, but kind of shows to be nothing out on the court.
That's true. One of them could become Kwame Brown. You never know. Kyle, I'm not just saying Kwame Brown to get a smile out of you. I also want to know, Kyle, the Thunder, they got Mara, they got Bennett Sturts, and like it's like Jay brought up, and I know I'm hammering it home, but it's because Jay, you're just so gosh darn eloquent. It's like you got a master's. But like what they needed, they got literally both of that with these players, and these players are really good. And again, I like also like Ryan said though, a pick's a fun pick until we see it. But just like damn, like those feel like super like precise and like lethal picks by both of them, because like Ade Mara and Bennett Sturts, like that is like lethal. Those feel like picks that like when it got to the Thunder, they saw there we go words. They saw they were available and they took the damn shot. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, Mara is going to be like, we talked a lot about Mara in general. He was a big riser on the boards. I kind of agree with Jay of like, I do see why Morris Johnson went to the Mavericks, but I think he may. I think there's a chance that may have made a little bit of mistake by not going with Mara, because it's not just the fact that he's an incredible defensive player, but he also has that touch with the three that could match up with a Wemby, right? Someone that could defend him, but also maybe not have the same range as Wemby, but it will at least try a bunch of threes, right? He has that touch, and you know, who's to say if Mara was there against Wemby instead of Chet, maybe the Thunder may have gone to the next round with Mara. Who's to say? But at least they have that overall depth piece, whether or not he starts immediately and Chet or Hartenstein are gone, or if he takes some time to develop and be an incredible backup. And then Sturts, I love Sturts. I've loved his journey. I know that he's a little bit older than some of these other players, but older doesn't necessarily always mean bad. I understand that there's an idea that he doesn't have quote unquote as high of a prime as long of a prime as some of these other players, but it's not like he's going to be needed completely for the Thunder, right? He is someone that can come in a pinch, and a lot of people are saying that he is one of the smartest players in the draft. And also the fact that he has come from Division II up to where he was with not West Virginia. Was he at West Virginia?
No, he was at Drake.
Drake, but then didn't he not go somewhere else?
No, he was at D2. He went to Drake, and then he went to Iowa. You're thinking of
Iowa. Yeah, that's what I meant.
He went to Iowa, but Drake had a coach who went to West Virginia. He's now the Indiana coach.
That's what I meant. Okay, but like the fact that he was able to keep moving up, that shows me someone who's willing to grind to be better. So even if he is a little bit older than everybody else, I still think he has that work ethic in him that's going to work well with that Thunder system.
All right, cool. Sorry, there was a little lag on my end, so I was waiting to make sure you were completely done. So sorry about that awkwardness. I had one more thing on the damn draft.
Can we talk about some of our other favorite picks?
Real quickly around the horn, because I do want to move on to the NHL draft. So really quickly, and I'm not gonna go because I don't have one off the top of my head. Really quickly, minus the picks we've talked about, so the top 5 and then Mara and Sturts. Starting with Kyle, then going to Ryan, and then ending with Jay. What was your favorite overall pick of the NBA draft? Again, let's make it quick.
Okay, 3 real quick. Okay, Yaxel, I absolutely love Yaxel with the Warriors. He's going to play that Jimmy Butler role, even though he's a little bit older. Doesn't matter. I think he's going to be able to get his shots and is going to pair very well with Steph Curry. I absolutely love what the Spurs did with their 2 center picks with Quaitnens and Terrace Reed, giving some depth to Wemby so he doesn't have to play all the time. And if Quaitnens is actually healthy, that's going to be a steal, because a lot of people are talking about him earlier in the year as a top 5 pick. And then lastly, and I understand that Jay wanted somebody else, but I love Laurent Philbon for the Sixers. He is going to create so much great offense for that team. And like pairing him with Maxey and Edgecombe, I think that makes a very scary trio.
Ryan, who's your favorite pick of the NBA draft that we didn't already talk about?
I'll just say 2. Again, I'll go with Kyle. I love the Axel for the Golden State Warriors. Perfect fit. And I'm a big Derek Fisher fan, so I love that pick for the Kings.
Jay, who was your favorite pick in the NBA draft other than the one that we already talked about?
I got a few, but I'm going to do just quick. Milwaukee, I just like what they did. Braden Berries, you go and you get your guard. Nada meant, he's going to be a little bit of a project, but you feel the need if he's good because
They've got time.
Yeah, you've got time. You've got draft picks. You look good. And then to Kyle's point, LeBaron Filon, we keep getting guards so late. and I'm just so happy we do it. I mean, we got a backup guard. We needed bench scoring in the postseason, and that's what you got. So I can't be mad at my team.
All right, real quickly, I'm just gonna bookend this on the NBA draft. All but one player in the second round got traded. That is hilarious to me.
I'll also say real quick.
Yeah.
I'll also say real quick. This was also really interesting because I don't remember. There's a stat. I think it was like this was like the first time in so many times where like the first 14 players were all from actual like college basketball, not overseas. And I believe there was only 6 players that were drafted from overseas. So it's going to show that NIL, even though there are some limitations and some things that need to be changed for NIL, this is going to give you players that are going to stay longer, and then you're actually going to get honed in talent for the NBA draft rather than like, oh, who is this like one player? You're not going to get like a Zachary, whatever his name is, from Atlanta as much. You're going to get more. Ricochet. You're going to get more homegrown talent that's actually staying in college that we're going to know the names and are actually probably going to be better fits for these teams going down the line.
All right, Ryan, it's your time to shine real quickly, just because I think I know the answer to this question. Jay, Kyle, do you have any takes on the NHL draft?
There was a 7-footer that got drafted. That's all I know.
I did not know that. That's hilarious.
What? I didn't know that either. That's insane.
Yeah, dude. I knew there were centers in hockey, but I didn't know they were that tall.
Quick question, Ryan. How do you play hockey at that height? They make sticks that big?
You got to specify them. Zdeno was 6'9". He's now the tallest player ever to be drafted in the NHL.
Wow. No, but like, you know, there are dudes that are like the size of like power forwards and centers that play. I feel like the one area where the one position where you can't be that height is goalie. Because like I've heard somewhere where if you're too tall, you can't be an effective goalie.
Yeah, limits your ability to go crease to crease in your reaction time.
Anyway, Ryan, it's your time to shine because on Friday and Saturday it was the NHL draft. The Rangers did some stuff, which that was weird because I thought they were going to completely rebuild, but instead they're doing another retool. They traded for I'm so sorry, I do not know how to pronounce that damn name.
It's Pavel Dorofeyev.
I'm going to call him Pav. So anyway, Pav came to New York and he got an extension. The things I hear is that he's kind of like an A- version of Panarin, but he's also super young.
The bread man.
I believe he's 20. There we go. I believe he's 25, but he's coming off back-to-back 30 plus goals.
Yep.
Yeah, he's hypothetically in his prime. And then also the player that the Rangers drafted with, forgive me, I can't remember if it was the 4th or 5th pick.
It's
but
the 5th.
They got this fella from Latvia, and of the top 5 outside of obviously the top overall pick, he is supposed to be one of the better picks. So selfishly, I have to selfishly before we get to overall the NHL draft, and then specifically your team, because I do have a deeper dive question about your team that I want to get your take on. What's going on with the Rangers, and why did they make those moves? Because I thought they were leaning more towards blowing it up, but now it looks like they're completely retooling, especially with getting seemingly a new franchise star.
Yeah, Dorofeyev is unfortunately a cap casualty for Vegas. You know, they're restricted based on how much they've allocated towards their forwards and defensemen. They have a handshake deal with Rasmus Anderson, probably north of $8 million, so you can't pay Anderson and Dorofeyev, who is a restricted free agent. From the reports I'm reading, they were willing to go 8.5 as the max. That's because they just could not fit him under the cap at 11, which, even with the cap rising, that's still a pretty surprising number for Dorofeyev. I'll say that you got a really good player who's going to fit the timeline if you're looking to rebuild / retool. He's 25, so he's just entering the prime of his career. He's going to be number one option. He never had that chance in Vegas, so I'm excited for Dorofeyev. I think he's got 40-goal potential in him. Being the number one option, 40 goals, 90 points, like you're getting a really good player because Vegas doesn't have the room in their cap sheet. So you guys lucked out. I'm a very, very happy player. In terms of Albert Smith, super sound defenseman, isn't overly flashy, but probably has the highest floor of any of the defenseman drafted. Was playing for the Latvian team over the Olympics as an 18-year-old. That should tell you something of just how mature his game is. There is offensive upside, but he's very sturdy, very mature. Is going to be playing, maybe not PP1, but he'll play the PP2, and he'll be one of your top penalty killers. The kid is just so super sound, super mature. Plays a mature game for his age. Has been competing against, guys who are 24, 25 for the last 3 or 4 years. So he's not going to be, intimidated by coming up the NHL. He's probably the most NHL-ready defenseman in this draft. He is got a really good chance to be your number one for the next 10, 15 years. And if he can develop his offensive game, there's a chance he's a top 5, top 10 defenseman in this league. Again, the experience he's gotten playing in the Olympics against men and, holding his own and being a leader on that team at 18 years old just kind of shows you where the kid's headspace is at. That New York media is not going to scare him. He's not going to pull under pressure. He's not going to hear the noise. He's a legit prospect in any other year. There's a real shot he's probably the first defenseman off the board. It just happens that this year there were 5 defensemen worthy of being the top defenseman in this draft class. It was more like just choose your flavor. Which person or which player fits what you're looking for. And you're looking for a kid who's going to be super sturdy. He kind of reminds me a lot of Ryan McDonough. That's the kind of player I would probably compare him to. Ryan McDonough was averaging 50 points a game, playing the penalty kill, being a guy who played on the power play, and just you can deploy him in all different situations. That's what he kind of reminds me of is Ryan McDonough.
Now, heading into the NHL draft, there were some trades, there were some moves, and then the trades happened, and then all of the freaking draft games grades came out. The Sabres, they traded up for the number 4 pick. They made a couple of fun moves. And I'm just going off of some of the publications that I follow on Instagram and Twitter. Ryan, I'm curious about your take because some of the stuff that I'm seeing about some of the moves that the Sabres made in the draft, they're getting C+ grades from some stuff I'm seeing. But I recall in our chat you being pretty optimistic and excited about some of the picks that were made. So, Ryan, I'm kind of curious. What were some of the moves that the Sabres made, and in terms of who they took with the draft pick, and how do you feel about it? Because you seem pretty bullish and happy about it, but then I'm also seeing some of this stuff online.
Yeah, so like I said, this draft class, in this draft class, there were 5 defensemen who were worthy of being the first defenseman off the board. Yeah, like I said, it was pretty much choose your flavor. It's it really depends on who you had as your number 1 on your board. The consensus number 1 defenseman going into this was Chase Reed. He went 4th of the 5 defensemen that were, elite top end prospects. A lot of people had Daxton Rudolph, as the 9th or 10th pick, probably the 4th or 5th defense off the board. He's got the highest upside as an offensive defenseman. He isn't the fastest skater, but he knows angles really well, how to set players up. Super dynamic off the rush, can jump into the play, can captain a power play. Beats get a little more sound in his defensive end. That's why he's going to the University of Denver next year to learn from an elite head coach, and this team is also the reigning NCAA championship winner. So he's going to a great program where he's going to get some time to develop. He has number 1 defenseman potential, and you can't teach offensive smarts like his. He's every player you said, he's got the best offensive feel in the game as a defenseman. And it fits our system because our guys on the defensive end tend to join the rush and they activate the offense. So we had 4 guys who would always be cycling in and out of the offensive zone, being dynamic, running the offense. Our guys would like to join and enjoy the offense, and that kind of is the style we play. And Daxton Rudolph is the guy who fits that system best. Some people think he was reached based on where you had him ranked, and that's going to happen. It was definitely a surprise. A lot of people had Chase Reed going as the number 1 defenseman. but I am excited to see what this kid can do. Again, we don't need him right now. That's the best part. You can take the guy you want and you can stash him for a year because of you took that 45th pick you got in the Bowen Byram deal and you went to Anaheim and got Olin Zellweger, who is your Byram replacement, who is one of the best skaters in the league, who is only 22 years old at 55. This kid has time to develop because you're not having to rush him to the majors. Like a lot of comps that I'm seeing for him are Zach Walensky, who, funny enough, just won the Norris Trophy as the defenseman in the NHL. So if he gets to 80% of Zach Walensky at the 4th overall pick, you consider that a win. Let's look at two guys who were consensus drafted, before what people expect them to be, which were Maurice Seider in Detroit at the 6th overall pick. He was projected in the middle first round pick. Steve Eisman got crucified for it. Seider was just now a top 5 Norris finalist and considered one of the best defensemen in the league. And Beckett Seneca drafted 3rd overall a couple years ago. Anaheim got killed by the media, and Beckett Seneca had 36 goals and 75 points last year, was leading a super young Ducks team in the second round. So, all these projections, they're just that, they're projections, and everyone's got different draft boards, and if your guy is there at your pick and you take him and you're right, then honestly, who cares what the draft grade is after the draft? If you're right on your guy and you trust your scouting staff, then that's all that really matters to him. That's kind of how I look at it. Is Yarmo comes from a scouting background, and the Sabres have drafted really well over the last 5 years. Being Zach Benson at 13, getting Constantine Helenius at 16, getting Noah Ostlund at 16. Like, these guys who are going to be big parts of your team going forward. Be identified with the guys maybe over than some people thought, and it's worked out. So I tend to trust my scouting staff because our players have developed well and we've drafted well. And if you're right, again, it doesn't matter where you take your guy, as long as you're right. I'll touch on the 20th pick. He's the youngest player in the NCAA last year at 17. He's 6'3", 205, big, physical, third-line centerman that you need. Not every pick's going to be a home run, especially the later half of the first round. You're kind of drafting guys who are your middle six. A lot of these players in the 20s don't have a high hit rate overall. I think it's like 30% of guys drafted outside the top, 15 tend to make the NHL roster, and even less first, second rounders. So you're taking a swing at a guy who is really sound defensively, who's mean, who's rugged, and if he develops a little more offensive game at the NCAA level, you'll take that all day long. But getting a guy long term in the system who can be your 3C, that's good value at pick 20.
Now, Ryan, I've asked you about my team. I've asked you about your team. What though? To you, what's either the top takeaway or the top 3 takeaways of this NHL draft? Because around this NHL draft at the same time, I don't know if you noticed or this is part of the course. I feel like everyone and their mother, if they're not a cornerstone piece, I feel like everyone and their mother is either traded or getting ready to be traded on top of the draft happening.
Yeah. My first biggest takeaway is what San Jose did in this draft. Absolutely stellar work by Mike Greer. Getting Ivar Stenberg at 2, who in the end of their draft class is your top prospect. It's very similar to the Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid thing, where it's McDavid's a generational prospect, but in their draft class, Eichel's the first overall pick. Ivar Stenberg at 2 is amazing. They got Keaton Verhoff at 9, who was one of those top 5 defensemen, and going into the year was the consensus number 1 defenseman going into the draft class before the season played out. And then at pick, I think it was pick 20 or 21, they got Ryan Lynn, a super high upside, smaller, tougher defenseman who has a bunch of explosive elements to his game. I mean, what San Jose did in this draft class to supplement that pool and to give Macklin Celebrini more help. In 3 to 4 years, you could be seeing San Jose Sharks in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's how good this draft class is on paper. 2 is a lot of smoke going into the draft about these big moves happening and kind of not coming to fruition. Yeah, there were some minor moves made, but we were kind of promised based off of reporting, pre-draft of how many trades would be happening that would continue to the draft, and it kind of just fizzled out, and teams kind of stopped and picked the players that came to them. And then this one's our third big one. It's draft plus a little more outside the draft. It's players now kind of sticking up for themselves and kind of demanding trades now, which I've kind of noticed has taken a big uptick over the last couple of years, is that if these players don't think that their team is going to be competitive, they're now asking out, which has been kind of a new trend for these players in the NHL, is that they're using their voice more. Like, they're taking the cue from the NBA. Yes, like 15 years too late, but they're finally like getting more of that. Hey, like, I want to go to this team. Like, this is where these are the three teams I'll accept a trade to. So it's definitely a new era of the NHL. I think we're going to see the NHL go away from these no movement clauses. As I posted in our chat, the NHL has 245 players with a no movement clause, and I think of the other two sports combined, it's like 45.
It's comically low. It's hilariously low. That's gonna conclude our NHL draft coverage. Next, it's seeing how these dudes develop, and then the start of the season, as well as low key, sneaky, some big trades. We're on Hellebuck watch, which that'll be interesting to see if that happens. I know that you want him on the Sabres, but man,
well,
the update
is the Sabres and Jets have continued to talk past the draft. So, yeah, they're continuing to talk trade. And the report is from someone who's really plugged into the Sabres, said that if the Sabres do get him, the Sabres fans should expect it to sting a little bit.
That'd be wild. Yeah. That's crazy.
What I'm hearing is a combination of UPL, either Ostlund or a Hellenus, which would really hurt because those are two really good prospects, and probably a high-end prospect, and probably a first next year. That's kind of what I'm hearing. It's gonna sting. It's gonna be a massive package. But you think you're a cup contender, and you think you're a goalie away, you go make a move. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You take a page out of Vegas and Bucks. Like, Vegas said F them picks, and they're going for it. And I think, it's a bigger sign that players are now taking Buffalo off their no movement of those teams that they won't accept a trade to. If Connor Hellebuyck, one of the best forwards in the world, said he'd be willing to move his no movement clause to go to Buffalo, that kind of shows that the Sabres' perception around the league has changed. And even that in of itself is a huge win, and it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to move on now to some World Cup coverage. Because, Kyle, you've been keeping our group chat alive and abuzz with everything going on with the group chat. I know that you have a top 20 of World Cup observations. We want to keep them fun, and we want to keep them festive, and we want to keep them tight. So I brought a sound effect for after each World Cup observation. So you're going to say the observation, and I'm going to play the sound effect, okay? But before we go to the World Cup observations, I need to check in with Jay, because I know how Boston is doing, because Boston was descended upon by all of the World Cuppiness. I do also know, though, that being in Philly, some World Cup occurred. Jay, have you had any fun run-ins with any of the rapscallions of the World Cup, or have you been able to dodge them?
Dude, oh my gosh, I went out to Philly on Friday just to catch up with some of my cohorts since we finished our program. The drunk Scots, man. I think
he was in Philly.
There's a crazy staying here. There's a good group of I went out Friday and Saturday. There's a good group of Scots here. The Brazilians are here.
Let's go.
The Scots, I don't know if they stopped drinking. I'm not gonna lie. I genuinely think that they are just whatever's in the genealogy. Shout out to them, because we went to a couple bars and I was just like, wow, the Scots. They're like, I think I got there 8 p.m. This guy is like tripping down Market Street. I'm just like, sure, you know what? Welcome to Philadelphia. And then Saturday we were out with the Brazilians. We were in Mania. No one really cool, but they made their way out to West Philly and stuff, and they were kicking it. they can party. I don't know. They're not a very big bar, but they had to have been the most turned up people in there. But it's been cool having all the different cultures and communities. Like Philadelphia is a very diverse community itself. So like seeing a lot of people come out and like show their representation with other people from other countries has been really fun.
Now I know that the final is at MetLife. How many until how many rounds does Philly have games?
I believe they have one more round. I think they have a game here for the round of 32 and maybe one more. I saw that they had tickets up through July because I was debating on going, but that's too rich for my blood. So
yeah, you kidding me? Get the hell out of here, man. You need to be a CEO to go to like the nosebleeds.
Man, start selling organs if you want to go, because that's there's no way.
Yeah. Well, my favorite is like all these people being like, how are these Europeans able to afford it? I'm like, let's all take civics, everyone. Anywho, that we're not a civics class, unfortunately. Kyle, I've done enough filibustering. Do you have your 20 observations?
Yeah, I do.
All righty. Number 20.
Uruguay disappointing in the World Cup. So Uruguay, they lost to Spain. That makes sense. They also tied with Cabo Verde, and they were not like necessarily a favorite, but they were someone who people thought were going to make it to the round of 32. And the funny thing about this and the pettiness, and this is what I love, is that it was found out that after Uruguay got eliminated, the country canceled their private flights, so they had to go back commercial.
Number 19.
Turkey, also disappointing. So Turkey, if I remember correctly, through their first two games with Australia and with Paraguay, they had 62 shots and did not score a single goal. Me and Vanessa watched the Australia Turkey game, and it was absolutely wild seeing how defensively brilliant Australia was. It kind of felt like Syracuse's press, where you just could not get anything at all. And Turkey, again, another dark horse that, they did beat America in the last game, but USA was benching a bunch of their key players. So not a great look for Turkey.
Number 18?
Yes. Tunisia losing 5-1 to Sweden and sacking their coach. Yes. After losing to Sweden 5-1 in their first game, after Tunisia did not give up any goals, I believe, in qualifiers, they sacked their head coach and failed to win any games. Again, not necessarily that Tunisia was going to go anywhere, but to sack your coach in the middle of the World Cup is definitely a choice.
Number 17.
This is a moment. Colombia's last goal against Uzbekistan. So I sent the group chat this, but some prefacing. So I believe at that time, Colombia was up 2-1, and Uzbekistan almost hit a tying goal. And one of the players on Uzbekistan was basically chapping, saying shit to one of the Colombia players. And what happens after that is one of the most holy shit moments in terms of goal, because basically this guy on Colombia gets basically almost tackled and they do not call a penalty, and he gets back up on his feet and still is fighting with this other Uzbekistan player, notices the other Colombian player from the corner of his eye and hits it in such a beautiful way for him to be able to head it in to get a 3-1 lead. It is one of the most incredible goals I have seen in this World Cup. And it's icing on the cake because Uzbekistan was being absolutely fucking petty during that moment.
Before we head on to number 16, I just want to point out one thing that like I learned about like in terms of like why people like watching soccer is that like it's not supposedly about like following the ball. It's in terms of like you like if you want to watch soccer and like enjoy it, you want to watch like the players and stuff like that and like what they're setting up. So like I feel like to try and bridge the gap between soccer and like the non-sport viewing world or the American sport viewing world. I feel like if you like D&D, you like soccer almost.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. It's not just like it's not as fast paced as hockey, but it's a little bit the same idea of like you're trying to space some way where you can get a shot on goal, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but it's really cool to see the chess matches happening because not every team plays the same way.
Yeah, and instead of a DM, you have a ref with a watch. Anyway, number 16.
Netherlands versus Japan. One of the best games of the group stage. These two teams made it to the knockout round, and even though Japan did lose to Brazil today, these were showing that these are two of the best teams. It was scoreless in the first half, but then they tied it up to 2-2 with Japan scoring a goal in the 89th minute, which made like an incredible back and forth game, and in basically a tie, showing that these teams are pretty even. And right now, Netherlands is playing Morocco, so goes to show you that these are really good teams.
Number 15.
Colombia, Portugal. So in a theme that we're going to see, VAR gives and takes away, because Colombia, Portugal was one of these games where it basically whoever won that game was going to win that group. And it came down to it ended up being a tie, but it came down to, I believe, Luis Diaz scoring a goal for Colombia in like the 90th minute, I want to say. But the thing was, it got called back because Luis Diaz's toe was right over the line for being offsides. And people might want to argue that, like, yeah, like, hey, this should have counted as a goal. Like, this is basically like the Isaiah Likely touchdown from a couple of years ago, right? It's like literally you're calling this out of bounds, but I think it was the right call in the end, because then eventually it's like, all right, so how far down do you want his toe to be in order to be, like, at what point do you consider it being offsides, right? Unfortunately, they have a line for a reason. And it didn't take away from an incredible back and forth game against Colombia and Portugal.
All right. Number 15.
14.
Also, let's try and go a little quicker. Number 14. Also, let's try and go a little quicker.
Yes, gotcha. My bad. Mexico just dominating their group. They won all three of their games, not necessarily against the toughest competition, but they did not let in a goal. There's a reason why people are saying that this might be a dark horse team for the semifinals, and they showed it in Group A.
Real quickly, behind France and Argentina, are they the favorite?
No.
Ooh, real quickly, who is?
France, Argentina, I would say. After that, you got Spain. I would say England. Ooh. I say whoever wins Mexico, England is that fourth favorite.
Oh, number 13?
Yep.
13.
USA winning their group. Yes, they lost to Turkey in the last game.
Hold on. Really quickly. Jay, unmute for a second.
Yes.
Ryan, unmute for a second. Kyle, say that first part again.
USA winning their group.
USA. Okay, I'm done.
We're going to the finals, baby.
Dude,
the only reason why I have this so low is because a lot of people were projecting the United States to win their group, and after they beat Paraguay 4-1, it felt like a inevitability. But also bear in mind that this United States doesn't necessarily always win their group. They almost never do. They are usually the second team after like some miracle stuff. So the United States has a really tough draw, but they're playing with house money at this point.
I thought it was wild that, like, look, I know that they lost and like you don't ever want to lose, but like they got to, like, they played their final game with house money. I've literally never lived a life where the United States men's soccer team has played any of their group games with house money. Digressing from that. Number 12.
South Africa.
All right.
Yeah, let's actually say 12 and 11 are around the same thing. So number 12 is South Africa, number 11 is Canada. Both of them making their first ever knockout stage. I put Canada higher because of the fact that they beat Qatar 6-0. At one point, I believe Canada had 3 goals and Qatar had 2 red cards, which was absolutely hilarious. Canada is probably going to get their doors blown off by Morocco or Netherlands, but it's really cool to see them make it to the round of 16 and to see Canada win their group and South Africa upset South Korea, which I sent you this thing, Matt, and I think it's really funny, but a real quick side note. South Korea, basically one thing is that they weren't playing a star player in their game, and they lost to South Africa 1-0. So South Korea media, when they had the interview going on, they blurred out the South Korea coach's face as if he was like in witness protection.
Yeah. Yeah. They basically redacted his face. Like he was part of the Epstein files, except he's a person at a press conference. Number 12?
10.
Number 10. I can't count.
Bosnia making it to the knockout round.
You know who they're going to lose to, though? USA. Okay, I'm done.
So I do think that's going to happen, but we also have to get credit where credit is due because Bosnia was the team that kept Italy out of the World Cup. And for them to be able to get to the next round as a third place team because they tied with Canada, it's really cool to see the story going. I believe they're like the number 65th team in the world or something like that. So it's not like they're a great team, but to get into the World Cup and then continue to the knockout round, even if they lose to the United States, they've done a great job.
Number 9,
Norway. Kind of like what we were, just fun as hell. Actually, we'll put these two together as well. So number 8 is Scotland. Both of these have dominated Instagram and social medias with just how ridiculous they are as fans. You've seen the videos of Norway doing the skull as well as rowing. There was, Matt, you're going to have to remind me, but there was a golfer who he got he sunk a par or whatever, right? And the crowd was all Norwegian, and they were just losing their absolute minds, and it was so great to see. Scotland,
he won the tournament, and then he rode with them, today.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yep.
And then Scotland being ridiculous. I believe the stat was they had drank 4 times the amount of alcohol than the busiest day in Boston, which is 4th of July. Like literally, Sam Adams was coming around. It was like getting emergency kegs because that's how much they were drinking, and just being awesome people, putting traffic cones on statues and stuff like that. I know Scotland's out of the tournament, and that's sad. But Norway is going to be a lot of fun. Yes, they lost to France by like 4-1, but their best player Holland wasn't playing, so I think Norway has a good chance of pulling some upsets.
Number 8.
7. France. France, this is a little bit low, but it's more just because everyone knows this is coming. France has looked like the best team in the tournament for the most part. They did look a little bit rusty against Senegal. But Senegal is one of the better teams, and the fact that they had to face Senegal and Norway and still pull out incredible wins, they're looking great. They're looking athletic, And with Paraguay winning today, their path has gotten that much easier to get to the finals.
Number 6.
Messi. Guys, Messi is 38. And he, in the first 2 games, he scored every goal for their team. Now you're like, oh, wait, like 1 or 2. No, he scored a hat trick in his first game. Then he followed it up with 2 more goals. And then, not even playing the full game, he got 1 more goal against Jordan, being the first player to score a goal in 7 straight World Cup games. It's always been like Ronaldo versus Messi. Messi is showing, just like at his age, that he can still do this. And there is a chance that Argentina, especially with the road that they have, that he might just carry them on his back and get to the semifinals with no issues.
That's ridiculous. Jay, I saw your hand up. Did you have anything you wanted to say, or were you just reacting to Messi?
Messi's he's Messi. That's all it was. I was just reacting to Messi.
Yeah. I really hate just how often, Jay, I'm like back in my day. But like, man, like I remember I didn't have I've never had big soccer fandom. I've tried and I've failed. But like I just always remember like the conversation between like Messi and Ronaldo was like always so legit. And I just feel like even before he won the World Cup, I feel like Messi so clearly took it over just based on like how he aged and like how he played. He is a freaking it's stupid. Like it is stupid what Messi is at this point in his life. Sorry, number 5.
Number 5, Ecuador versus Curacao. If you checked out the Sports Yammer Instagram last week, I had posted a story, and it was because Curacao, who I believe has 128,000 people on their island, and I looked this up, 140 cities in America have a higher population than the population of Curacao. It's absolutely ridiculous. Curacao, first, losing to Germany 7-1, facing Ecuador, everyone thought that they would get their doors blown off again. But their goalie, Eloy Room, saved 15 shots. To put perspective, that is second behind Tim Howard versus Belgium. I want to say either 2014 or 2010. But Tim Howard with 16 did it with extra time. So he has the highest amount of saves ever in a World Cup game that did not go into overtime. I know that they didn't get any other points after that, but the fact that a country that has 128,000 people were able to do that is one of the best stories that you're going to see in the World Cup.
Number
4.
3?
4, yep. So I'm going to put these two together, 4 and 3. Iran is number 4. And Algeria, Austria is number 3. So everyone kind of know, for those of you who don't know, Iran had a horrible situation where they would play games and then they would have to go to Mexico, I believe, to stay, right, because of everything going on in the country. And even still, they tied every single one of their games and should have won their game against Egypt, kind of similar with Colombia and Portugal. But similarly, Iran's goal was called back because of VAR, because of offsides. And basically, they were at the whims of Algeria and Austria because the situation was 2 spots left. If either Algeria or Austria won, that team would go in and Iran would follow them. If Algeria, Austria tied, both of those teams would go in, Iran would be sent home. For the most part of the game, it was 0-0, and then it got to like 2-2 with like 20 minutes left. It was a lot of passing, and it looked like Iran had no shot. Then Algeria scores a goal in the 90th minute, and everyone's like, oh, Iran got the lucky break. Literally with like 50 seconds left, Austria pulls an insane goal where the guy gets it almost go out of bounds. He hits it. The guy headbutts it in, and Iran sent packing because Austria and Algeria make it to the next round. It was the last game of the knockout, of the group stage, in such a horrible way for Iran to go. But they were class act throughout the whole entire time, and I'm just wishing them best of luck next time. Sorry.
I had that. No, that was by accident. I'm sorry. Number two. Yeah, I mean, I do like real quickly, like, dude, like they're like when we get, I'm gonna say when, not if. When we get through this, there's gonna be movies about like what that Iranian team had to go through. Because like, man, like that's very bizarre what they had to go through. There's gonna be documentaries about that. That's all I'll have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, number 2.
DR Congo.
Lumumba.
Yes, if Matt, if you want to talk about that, you are more than welcome to afterwards. But they are one of the 2 teams that kind of shocked the world to get to the next round. So DR Congo, real quick, tied Portugal in the first game, and everyone was like, "Oh no, is there something wrong with Portugal?" Which there still might be. People are saying that that Ronaldo being on that team is a detriment at this point. So for them to tie and then only lose to Colombia by 1, and then beat Uzbekistan, which also they were down 1-0 going into the second half, and basically had to not just win that game but win on goal differential, and scored 3 goals, 2 of them within like the last 10 minutes to make it to the next round. They're going to be facing England, I believe, in the next round, but an incredible story, and let's see if they can go even further. And also shout out to that super fan who's always standing throughout the whole entire game.
Yeah. Jay, Ryan, do you have you guys heard about this fan who's dressed like Lumumba?
No, I haven't.
So it's this guy. He's dressed like this man named Lumumba. He was the first president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I think he was also the first democratically elected president in Africa, period. Because he was also like one of the leaders that like helped get Belgium out of like the Congo and stuff like that. So his story is one of the coolest and just most gut-wrenching stories ever. He did all that, freed Congo and stuff like that. He then was like leaning a little more socialist and communist, and he wanted to like nationalize their resources. And the second you hear the former colonies want to nationalize your resources, you can't let them do that. You can't let them do that. So the CIA, like very sincerely, the CIA in Belgium, they teamed up and they went into Congo. They kidnapped Lumumba. They assassinated him, and then they melted his body in sulfuric acid, and only recently owned up to it by mailing the only thing that remained of him, which was his gold tooth, to his family. And then that was, I think, that was either 2012 or 2022. But yeah, no. So like this fan dresses like him every game, and he stands still with his arm up like that, like Lumumba. And it's really cool. But people are also like, oh, is he going to be allowed in there and stuff like that? Because like he's going to inspire people to look up who Lumumba is. And he's got a cool story until you get to the end and you find out why the credits started a little bit early and who was responsible for that. It was one of the coolest and most depressing stories. And it just, the CIA needs to be abolished. Anyway, Kyle, let's bring it back to fun stuff and not sulfuric acid.
Number 1.
Kyle. Yeah, Kyle, number 1.
Cabo Verde. So, for those who don't know, there's also a huge Cape Verdean population in Massachusetts, particularly in Brockton, close to where I live in Canton. So, something that like is kind of near and dear to Massachusetts. But in general, Cape Verde, second smallest team in the tournament, 500,000 people in their country. There are 30 cities that have a larger population in the United States than Cape Verde. When when Germany beat Curacao 7-1, a lot of people were like, oh, including me, like, oh, Spain's going to mop the floor with Cape Verde. And they tied 0-0. Now, there's also the fact that Yamal was not playing for Spain, but the fact that they tied 0-0 gave them life, and they were, I believe they needed. No, sorry, that's Ricardo. But then they tied Uruguay, and they tied Saudi Arabia in the end to get second place in a very tough group. They're going to be facing Argentina, which is going to be a tough task. But Vozina, their goalie, has been an absolute star of the tournament. He is 40 years old, and he has been playing out of his fucking mind. I do think Argentina is going to win this game. But if you're going to tell me that Vozina, who's been playing out of his mind, can go up against Messi, it's going to be a really interesting matchup. And it's just super cool that with this expanded tournament that you're seeing teams like DR Congo, Cabo Verde, South Africa, Canada getting their first chances to get to the knockout round and actually make some noise.
That's so cool, man. And those are our World Cup observations. Yeah, man, like I really think, especially with the United States seemingly having a shot at making it to the round of 8, I'm definitely going to be tuning in more for the knockout. Don't ask me if I tuned in today. This show's been going on a little bit, and it is getting close to 11 on your guys' side. So I want to start wrapping things up. Kyle, I know you just did a top 20, but Kyle, is there anything? Actually, before I go to Kyle real quickly, does anyone else have a World Cup observation? Jay, have you been watching any of the World Cup besides hanging out with the drunk Scots?
Watched a little bit of the USA. I was texting one of my buddies. He's a huge soccer fan, so I was just kind of like picking his brain and stuff like that. But I wanted to bring up that first game with Messi because I did sit down and watch that game, and I texted him. I'm just like, this is all after Portugal tied, and I was like, so like Messi's the GOAT, right? Like we're all in the same wavelength. He's like, yeah, pretty much. Like this has kind of been established. This is just icing on the cake, which has been fun to watch. But USA, hopefully they do some cool things. I was very optimistic about the team, and they look good, so that makes me happy.
Well, what's crazy too is that like I feel like now they got to win the big games, but like I feel like going into this World Cup, despite the fact that they had a little bit of an easier group, man, I feel like there was a lot of cynicism around this USA team, and like ever since the World Cup started, it has just been like. It kind of reminds me of, and stay with me. It kind of reminds me of when people realized that the Knicks had won like 13 in a row. I mean, like 10 in a row. And people were like, "Oh, wait, we could actually do this now. We need to have real discussions because we're actually making moves." And I feel like that's kind of like what I'm not saying the United States is going to win the World Cup, but like I do feel like that's what's happening with this USA team, especially after those first 2 wins. They're both like, oh, wait, we made some noise. Like, and we gave ourselves some breathing room. Like, we don't have to like try as hard this time because we're like set down the line.
Yeah, I think the United States has a really tough draw. Like, it's not necessarily a given that we're going to beat Bosnia, but there's a pretty good chance.
We're going to beat Belgium.
I think honestly what scares me more is Belgium or Senegal. I think both of those teams came out of really tough groups. Senegal was third, but like it's not like they had to face Norway, they had to face France. Both of those teams are really good. I'm honestly more, in a way, I'm a little bit more worried about those two than I am about the next round if we make it there. Portugal, I think, can be got because I'm seeing what Ronaldo is doing to this team. He has his moments, but also there's a reason why people are saying that there should have been someone else there instead of Ronaldo in his situation. Spain is really good with Yamal, but also they are still pretty young, and we saw them not necessarily be the greatest against Cape Verde. So we just saw a Paraguay team that we beat 4-1, take out Germany. So maybe this could be a team that can get to the semifinals. It's going to be real tough. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if they win to Bosnia and then lose to Belgium or Senegal, because those are really good teams.
Yeah. Let's give them, though, some extra motivation, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. Christian Pulisic. This is on you. If you don't get us at least to the round of 8, we're deporting your ass. You have to go to Europe and play soccer. Ignore the fact that you already do that for Chelsea. You don't want to do that, Jay? Do you want to do something else that Christian Pulisic?
I was going to say send him to the MLS instead.
Oh man,
keep him here.
No, he wants to come home. You don't get to come home, Christian. You don't get to come home, Christian.
Yeah, send him to Chester, PA, where he can play for the Union. That's what he gets. He gets locked out of Philly. He can't even come to Philly. He's got to be in Chester.
Man, that's so funny. Wait, so they don't even play in Philly, but they call themselves the Philly Union?
Yep. They play like right outside.
That's so funny.
But that's how like Philly, like funny. The Sixers, they practice in New Jersey.
Job for them when I was still applying for jobs.
Jay, you were saying something?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There was a thing on Matt's end. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I heard him lagging a little bit. I just said it's kind of how the Sixers practice in New Jersey.
They do?
Yeah, the facilities in Camden.
Man, what's with all these teams saying that they're from somewhere else, but then actually playing in?
Who said that? Anyway, Kyle, for the first time in a while. Oh no, am I frozen? Oh, I think I'm frozen. Life's hard.
You're a little delayed, man. Well, I don't know if you can hear us.
We're here. We're living life. We're chilling like a.
Matt, are you back?
You there, Matt?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a good thing I don't root for a single team that does that.
He's the lead.
Well.
I can hear you. The last thing I heard was Kyle make the joke about teams that are saying that they're from a place when they're not actually from a place. So now I'm probably like several minutes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. He's going to come back in a second.
Yeah, he's going to rejoin. That was really funny because it was just him catching up on the conversation. Just like 15 seconds behind. This is, oh man.
That was amazing. Great content.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I guess while we're waiting for him, because we touched a little bit upon it, but Ryan, you never really got to talk about how you felt about the Cavs and their draft.
The bench player. I mean, I'm more annoyed that I have to have 2 more years of James Harden. Can we just let him walk, please? Like, I'm good. I've seen enough. But I'm going to sign him a 2-year deal. What I'm more annoyed is they're trying to trade Schroeder and Strus to make room for Dean Wade's contract. I'm like, why do you want to keep Dean Wade? Man's trash. Like, stop it. Stop disappointing me. Just, I've had enough, man. Ugh. But yeah, I don't know too much about the draft pick. I've heard he's a good 6-man off the bench. He can score. That's what he's known for. Maybe you have a little more context on what his game is. I'm not too familiar with him.
Remind me who you got.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like maybe an Alabama guard. I'm not 100% sure who it was. I kind of tuned out after the first round.
Let's see. It was. Did you get Alex Caravan? No, I don't think you got Alex Caravan.
No. He went to the Kings.
Tyrese Proctor.
We had Tyrese Proctor last year.
And
I'm back.
What I thought. It's not showing your. Hi. We're just quickly talking about the Cavs and how they did in the draft. Well, just until you got back.
Well,
I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. I remember hearing, reading a report that he'd be a guy who it's like instant offense and doesn't lack the confidence coming off the bench, which you can always use
I
in the
mean,
NBA.
that's
So
yeah, that's also the position the Cavs are in. They didn't need like a guy; they needed more bench pieces. Anywho, Kyle, before yeah, seriously. Kyle, before my computer betrayed me, you were looking perplexed. You were looking confused. You had your 1,000-yard stare. So, Kyle, before we sail off this mortal coil known as this week's edition of the Sports Yammer, Kyle, is there something on your mind?
Yeah. Okay. Tick, tock. Tick, tock. Do you hear that? That's the sound of seconds passing by. And we hear that, we see that a lot in the World Cup, because whether or not they have water breaks or they are playing, the clock never stops. And you see that every second counts, especially in games like Canada, games like Austria, Algeria, where you can score in the last minute and it changes the fortunes of everybody. TikTok are also the seconds that we get to savor this time, right? And we're seeing in these particular World Cup that there's been so many beautiful moments, right? We've talked about the Scots, we've talked about Norway, we talked a little bit about Algeria, right? Algeria, who has found a home in Lawrence to a city and a population that absolutely has adored them, who have given them safe harbor. We've seen South Korea and Mexico building this beautiful bond. And in a time where we are told that we need to be afraid of the other because they are not like us, having moments like this is absolutely beautiful and absolutely precious, but also finite, right? So my question for people is, if this is beautiful, do we need to let those seconds pass by? Can we continue these seconds after the World Cup? Can we continue remembering that these people are not so different from any of us, and that our problems are not necessarily the people from different countries? It might just be the people who are telling us that these people are our enemies, when in fact they are absolutely lovely people that have more similarities than differences. Because when we are told that these people are different, then we label them. Recently, there was a thing trying to get passed, which basically took away safeguards for people who have quote unquote disabilities, both physical and mental, and that they can be institutionalized again. Something that hasn't happened in quite some time, right? And this is what happens when we are told that the other is different from us and they have to be feared. So the question is, do you want to have this particular moment as just a moment in time and we go back to our original time? Or do you want to remember these seconds, these tick-tocks of the clock that lets us enjoy the people for who they are? It's kind of like the same idea of like Christmas or Valentine's Day, right? It's beautiful moments to remember, like, hey, remind yourself of the people that you care about. But why are we not doing that every single day, right? Why do we need a Christmas to let people know that they are on our minds and we love them for who they are? Why do we need a Valentine's Day to show the people that we love that they mean the world to us? Why don't we just do that every single day? We can do that here as well. This is a great lesson to be able to understand that there are amazing people all around the world with incredible stories that just need to be heard, because each second does pass away at some point, and we just have to hold on to them, right? Because blink and a million seconds go by, or blink 11 days and a million seconds goes by. Blink 32 years and a billion seconds go by. Blink 31,000 years and a trillion seconds go by. Not necessarily sure why I brought that last part up, but I think a trillion seconds is also kind of important to remember too recently. So the question is, what are you going to do with those seconds?
Indubitably. What are you going to do with those seconds? With these next few seconds, I'm going to close up this show. That was very well said, especially considering these next few days for certain people. It's going to be rough considering what the Supreme Court is doing right now. Digressing from that, though. Thank you to all my guests for joining me this week. Kyle, per usual. Jay, per usual. Ryan, per usual. Kyle, where can the people find you online? And do you have anything you want to promote and push?
Music Fan 77. What do I want to promote? Oh, yeah, I recently listened to the finally got around to the new Gorillaz album. It goes to show again how they're so good at world building. This one's really interesting because it also deals with the passing of a couple of Damon Albarn's friends, and they're using it through the lens of Hindu music as well as the stuff that you know, and it makes for a really beautiful and serene mix. So if you haven't checked out the new Gorillaz album, it's entitled The Mountain. It is a long one. It's a little bit over an hour, but the ride is really, really interesting.
All right. I love that. Jay, thank you for joining. Where can the people find you online? What do you want to plug? Also, let us know what is the name of this documentary, my guy?
Hey, appreciate you again, Matt, just for doing this every week. It's just I love talking ball with the guys. You know what I'm saying? Instagram j.johnson_812. The name of the documentary is entitled "Until Everyone Eats." It is a documentary focused on Kensington, Philadelphia, one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city, and just fighting hunger. There's a small convenience store style pantry to kind of bring the humanity back into like people who are suffering through food insecurity. It will be on YouTube probably within the next 10 days, God willing. So but yeah, I'm excited to release it. Hopefully people love it.
I love that. That's great, man. Make sure you put that in the group chat, the link in the group chat when it's live, okay, Jay?
Will do, sir. Will do.
I'm on a super delay, I know.
Ryan, thank you for being here. Is there anything you would like to plug?
Ryan, I know you're laughing because you absolutely know the extreme delay I'm on. Ryan, thank you for being here. Anything you want to plug?
Always happy to be here, Matt. Instagram, Ryan12490. No, nothing to plug. Let's finally tune into the World Cup now that it's in the knockout stage. So maybe we'll make a soccer fan out of me yet. So here's to me converting to soccer.
All right. And you can follow me at Schmatty_B as well as on Instagram at SportsYammer1. I know you guys are sitting there for 30 seconds waiting for me to get here, but we're here. So I'm just going to end it. Fight back against those of Jenny Kruger. Dark Alignment is a hoax. Don't just strategize. Also empathize. Also, I have no clue what the hell's going on with my internet. It betrayed me today, and I don't appreciate it. I will see you next week, baby birds. End of stream. I hate this damn Wi-Fi.